All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of What Are You Good At? With Jeff Gunsberg with Title Connect. Jeff, always fun to co host with you. We are talking to Ephraim Ebstein today, and he is the founder and CEO of Fit Solutions, managed IT and cybersecurity company. All right. Let's get right into it, Ephraim, because I think cybersecurity is a very big topic of discussion. I sent a text to my entire family the other day because within about 2 hours, I got about 20 email DocuSigns from random, what look like legitimate companies to my email and my text. It's very frustrating. So how do companies prevent that?
Man, it's like the best thing I would liken it to is if you were, let's say in a war zone and you had to lock down a small town or a little city and you're going to be attacked. You need a lot of things, right? You got to say, okay, I got to figure out the layout of the city. Where am I going to be attacked from? What weapons do I need? How many soldiers do I need? What are the entrances we're going to be guarding? What's our weak spots? Where are they going to likely attack from? So it's a combination, strategy, people, and weapons, which are tools. That's kind of it. Plus insurance. But you're going to get attacked.
Well, hold on. So I get all of those as a company and then I call you, right? So I don't know I think most companies get that. They don't know then what to do with that. And then they call a company like yours. What do you do with that?
That's great question. So we do an assessment. A lot of times we'll do what's called penetration testing. It's basically ethical hacking, essentially. So it's a combination of assessing and trying to do the same exploits that a criminal would do in the environment. That way we can kind of know the weak spots, help them figure out how to remediate those spots. And then the next thing is like looking at the tool stacks that they have in place for protection. And then a lot of companies will hire a company like ours to help them with the monitoring and response as they're getting attacked, to make sure that they don't lose everything if a criminal gets a foothold into their environment. So it's kind of a combination of assessing and monitoring plus tools. It's kind of a stack of services and tools.
So, I was looking, I found it interesting because I was looking through your bio and, people was a huge focus for you.
Yeah, I love people.
But one of the answers you made was like, are people a problem for you? And you said no, seemed like it wasn't something that was an issue. As far as, folks you're trying to, seek out to help you in your endeavor. And so, I think, and I know John thinks the same way, that like right now, people are just huge, like if you have people who you can count on and be there for you and to, kind of relay your message to the whole group. And, it's a huge piece, especially with AI and all the things that are going on. I love to see that people were a big part of that and that you focus on people. But also, it seems like maybe you're not having a problem finding people.
Yeah, it's a good. I like that you brought that up. Look, every company, every business owner is gonna have people problems, right? It's probably one of the biggest problems. But I have a phenomenal team, and it was intentional. And I've learned a lot of lessons from other mentors, so I'm not going to take credit for anything I'm about to say. But I've had to change my communication style as a leader, being extra clear, right? I'm kind of a driver, so I'm fast to move. I don't overanalyze situations. And, the majority of people are more like stabilizers, analyzers. So they're, just the way they communicated with has to change. So I had to do that. That was a big thing. But I also had to start setting, bigger goals for myself and the company so that I could attract, make opportunities for people within the org. Because if I have a status quo business, and businesses go through ups and downs. I'm not saying that, but if I'm not driving to a bigger vision, a bigger goal where they can win, right? They have no other option but probably to leave, a lot of the good ones. And then others you're not going to attract into the organization. So I've had to change. And then we did some really interesting things on how we apply core values in the interview process to help us kind of filter out and attract certain people that we want.
How did you do that? Is it through questions that you ask, personality tests? How do you do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what we started doing what's called a core values presentation. So we do through the typical, everyone has their own version, but we go through the typical interview process that a lot of companies do. You kind of screen them a little bit, then you do like a cultural type interview, and then if they're technical, you'll go in deeper into like a technical type role interview. So we have those two interviews, but then we add on anybody that we want to hire that we think. So we don't do this with all people because it just takes too much time, but we will ask the candidates to do like a 5 to 7 minute presentation to us, and they get time to prepare it like a day or two on not what our core values are, but on how they would use the core values if they were to get the job to be successful in the job, or they can demonstrate how they've used those core values in other jobs in the past. So we asked them to basically do this core value presentation, and it's kind of interesting when you do that because some people kind of think it's dumb or weird, and so they'll either phone it in or they just won't even show.
Or they disqualify themselves, right?
Well, I feel like you find the ability to make them more accountable if they choose to tell you what they think they would do if they were part of your organization,
100%.
Right? And then when they're not doing that, it's easy for you to hold them accountable, I think.
Yeah. And when people are in an interview, people know a lot of people, some people get really nervous. So you have to some people are nervous. So you're trying to grade on an art, you're trying to see through that. And then other people know how to answer the questions. And I was finding we were having a mishire rate. I don't know, this is not an exact number, but probably around 50-50. So we would do our best before we did core values, and we would probably have a 50-50 chance that employee would be with us past the 6 month mark or the 1 year mark, right? So if you fast forward a year, 50% maybe were sticking, and the others were not. So once we started doing core values, it shot that number percentage way up, because when you do the core values and they start telling you stories and you just listen to the presentation, and then after the presentation, we kind of like sit back, let them do the presentation, and then we'll ask questions. So someone said, hey, I helped get this guy promoted and and you're like, oh, that's great. Like, tell me a little bit. Tell me a little bit more about how you helped that guy get promoted. What were the things you did? Or, hey, I helped grow this company from this point to this point. Okay. What were the actions that you took? What was your role in it? And who else was involved? And you start asking these questions from the stories that they've given you. And it starts to reveal to you things that might take 3 to 6 months otherwise, where we might have hired and it wouldn't have worked out.
And again, those questions are based on your core values, so you see how in alignment you are with the person.
Exactly.
And how long is that part of the interview? I think it's great. I think today,
the presentation, we ask them to do 5 to 7 minutes, right? If they go longer, you don't cut them off.
How long is your presentation to them?
What's that?
How long is your presentation to them?
I don't do a presentation to them. We send them our core values, and they can present.
Oh, you send it to them, and then they come ready to present.
Their job, yes.
Yeah. So after the second interview, if we're like, hey, this is a person we want to hire, we move them on to core values. And so we actually have like a one sheet that has like all the core values and the definitions, because I was finding that a lot of people would show up to the core values and all they would do is give me a presentation on the definitions of the core values. Well, I don't know. I don't need to know what the definitions are. We picked them, right?
Yeah.
We know what the definitions are. I want to know how they would use them or how they have used them. I want examples.
I like that.
Yeah. So you find people phoning it in. Still, even now, sometimes people will show up and just do a presentation on what the definitions are. And you're like, I told you verbally, and I gave you one sheet that said, hey, don't do a presentation on it. So now I know they don't pay attention to detail or they don't care.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So that's kind of one thing that's helped us increase the success ratio dramatically. That was a big one.
Let's talk. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, let's talk about cybersecurity and IT. That was great. I love when, things come out. I love talking about the interview process because it's so hard to find great. 50% of great work out. So I think you've given people a great way to increase the security of their hiring, actually. So I think that was great. But let's talk about cybersecurity, cloud services, IT projects, managed IT, enterprise IT. There's so many ITs, right, that people need to be thinking of right now. How do people prioritize all of this? And what do they do to keep their company and their people safe? What's step one?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I'm a business owner. So, the priority in a business should be generating revenue and obviously growing, right? So anything on the IT side should be in support of that. So I'll kind of split cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, in my opinion, is more protection and insurance type, whereas IT is strategic in growth. And if your IT team or your IT department is setting their own priorities and they are not understanding and supporting the business, then you might have to make some shifts and changes in your business. And that's very common because the people that are attracted to IT, and look, I'm an engineer, so I can speak from both sides. I worked help desk, I was network administrator. So I know, right? So a lot of times IT people, they see a problem from a technical standpoint and they want to solve it and they set their priorities. But they don't always really understand the business. You'd be surprised how many IT folks don't even really sometimes even know where like the money is generated, and they conceptually know, but they don't really know. And that's a problem because as an IT person and as a leader, especially for an IT group, you need to be strategic, and your marching orders should 100% be aligned. That doesn't mean if you see a gap, you can't talk about it, but it has to fit into the broader alignment of where the business is trying to go and what the owners are trying to do. That's number one. So that's what I think is most important that we see lacking. And it's actually one of the big reasons that a lot of IT teams fail. We just took over a company. They fired 39 of their IT staff and brought us in. That's kind of unusual. Usually what happens is we're kind of brought in as consultants or as an extension of an IT team. It's very rare that they roll the heads of an entire department and say, boom, here, you take over. And it wasn't us that came and rolled them. They had already made a decision that they were rolling all these heads, and they opened it to RFP, and we won the RFP. But that when I got in there and I started seeing what was happening, there's some good people in there, but there was a leadership problem that blew it for everybody. And they were completely misaligned with what business needed and where the leaders were taking the business.
You kind of talked about, pre this conversation, eliminating the noise. And I really subscribe to that because I think there's a lot of mess that goes on in business, no matter where you are. And I'm curious as to, how you feel about, what you guys do to try and just break down the barrier of all the other stuff going on and focus on your own task. I think it's really important for the Think community to hear, how folks in your space having so much coming at you at a regular basis, how you kind of move past that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So one thing that kind of comes to mind, and it kind of ties in with the people thing. I'm a big proponent of managing up. And what I mean by that, like, say I have an employee that's any employee. I want them, if I show up to a one-on-one, I'm not going to start, I shouldn't be asking questions about, hey, what's the status of that? What's the status of this, right? They're professionals. They should be managing up. So they should be running that conversation, be like, hey, Ephraim, here's my planner. Here was the to-dos from last week. This is what got done. This is where this one got stalled. I need some help on this. This is the status of that, right? That's managing up. And I treat when I'm working with a client the same way. It's my job that they get that information without having to ask. Now, is it perfect? It's never perfect. But if that's the mindset and that is the kind of the expectation, that's going to help decision makers get what they need and kind of filter out. And that's another thing. When people manage up, I was like, I don't need a justification of everything you did on the week. I need to know the stuff I need to know about and that I need to make decisions on. I need to remove obstacles for you. So it's also like a coaching for my staff. But then I kind of use that same mindset of, when I'm going to our customers, our decision makers, like how are we delivering information to them that is valuable, that they need, and then us, taking burden off of them.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Ephraim, we got a quick speed round. 60 seconds. You ready?
Let's go.
All right. Book that made you seem like you're in a very cool library. Some of those look like, I don't know if they look like business books in the back, but what's a business book that's had a big impact on you?
10X Rule by Grant Cardone.
Okay.
What would you tell your 21-year-old self coming out of college? Best piece of advice.
Get into real estate early.
Okay. If you could have coffee with any person.
I like that.
World, yeah. Coffee with any person in the world, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh, I haven't thought about the dead, but about living. Bear Grylls.
All right.
Bear Grylls.
That'd be a
It's
fun
an
one.
interesting one.
Yeah.
I own a Bear Grylls knife, by the way, from his own brand.
I got one too.
Because I'm a camper, so I do that. Last question here that I feel is
get him to take me on one of his televised.
Oh, one of those trips. I would maybe do one of those trips. They seem pretty fun. Yeah.
Oh, I would 100% do it.
I feel like this is a good question based on what we're talking about. Where do you find peace?
In the ocean. I love free diving. I love being in the water. I love spearfishing.
Oh, that's another podcast. Tell everybody real quickly where they can connect with you and learn more about you, Ephraim.
Okay, you can find me if you want to Google my name. You'll find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. So that's probably the fastest way. Our website is fitsolutions.biz, B-I-Z. So that's the best way.
Great. Couple highlights. That was great. Next podcast, we'll have to start with the free diving and the spearfishing. That was pretty cool. Set a big vision. Leaders, adjust the way you communicate. Find a better way to do the interview process. Connect your people to the core values. It goes a long, long way. For all your cybersecurity and IT needs, your website one more time is
fitsolutions.biz, fitsolutions.biz.
All right, good. And
Wonderful.
then we got
Thanks, Ephraim, so much.
Title-connect.com, johndwoskin.com for me. Thanks, man. This was great. Appreciate everybody. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yes, appreciate you guys.